all, good afternoon, and thank you all for coming out today to talk about an issue that the city has heard quite a lot about lately, and that's the airport terminal issue. Last week when the airlines presented their recommendation to council, I said then, and I believe now, that we need an airport terminal to continue to grow, and we need to continue to grow. I still believe that to be the case. We need comprehensive change, frankly, in our transportation system. That includes the terminal, that includes buses, that includes rail. But I'm not willing to do this if that means that we can't grow together as a city. We've been conducting outreach with residents and civic and business people in the community, and it's clear that the city is not ready to move on or to move forward with the KCI conversation at this point. In fact, less than 40% believe that it is a good idea to move forward with a new terminal with the airlines paying for it along with the airport at this time. So I arrived at my conclusion that a new terminal was needed based on the facts and the data that had been collected over the previous 3 years. I still believe in those facts and that data. And as we considered how to get the job done, the facts and data on the other side are just as clear. This is not the time, and our citizens do not yet think it's the right time for the city to do this. So I think we are best served by pausing the conversation for now and focusing on our city's other priorities. We need a plan to address infrastructure, and we've been working on that. We need to lower our crime rates, and we're doing as much as we can on that, but we still have a long way to go. We still need more quality seats in our classrooms. We have to continue to find ways to make government more efficient while planning for the future. We can walk, talk, and chew gum at the same time, but we have to do it as a unified city. If nothing else that we've learned in the last 5 years is that we can accomplish big things when we're united, we cannot when we're divided. And when I ran for mayor, I promised that I would do everything that I could that was right for the whole city, and I meant it, even if it means pulling back on an idea that I personally feel very strongly about. So what happens now with the airport since we've come this far? The team that negotiated with the airlines completed their work last week when the recommendations were made, and those negotiations have ended for now. The city will extend the current MOU with the airlines that outlines their leases with the aviation department. Voters will not be asked to approve anything related to the airport in 2016. Although I still feel that a new air terminal is inevitable, it's clear that the time is not now. I'm going to continue to focus on the things that got me this job that I love so much, making government work better, adding good paying jobs to the city, equipping every student that we can with a world-class education, and cutting down on the gun violence that still takes far too many lives in the city. I want the residents of the city to know that we heard them, we listened to them, we understand your perspective and respect your opinion, and it does matter. And because of that, and because of the fact that we're listening at City Hall, we're going to press pause on the conversation for the time being. Now, I'd love for my good friend and colleague, Jolie Justice, to say a few words. She has been an extremely steady hand in this entire process. I dumped the airport committee in her lap. She handled it like a champ. She deserves credit and respect for being a strong leader on this issue and in that capacity. Jolie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, it was last August that the mayor actually asked and gave me the task of chairing the airport committee, and he asked the committee to evaluate the future of KCI. I didn't have an opinion when I took the task. Like most Kansas Cityans, I just wanted a modern, safe, convenient airport. And over the last 9 months, the airport committee has done an amazing job, and I want to thank right now my airport committee members for all the hard work that we've all put in on this. We've had over 13 public hearings. We have spent hundreds of hours meeting with constituents and community stakeholders. And during that time, I personally, like the mayor, have reached the same conclusion as both the aviation department, the citizen-led airport terminal advisory group, the airlines, and a growing chorus of Kansas Cityans, that KCI no longer meets the needs of our two biggest customers, both the airlines and our air travelers. The message we received last Tuesday from the airlines was unequivocal, Airlines are in the business of creating quality passenger experience, and after 2 years of deliberation, they made a unanimous determination that a new, modern, and convenient, affordable airport is the best way to meet their customers' needs. The airlines felt so strongly about this that they were willing to pay for the terminal and back the debt incurred by the aviation department, and this would be a monumental public infrastructure project right here in our community at no expense to the taxpayer. But I agree with the mayor that we cannot do this unless we have the confidence of our city. And one of the hardest things to do in leadership is to press pause when you see a plan that has so many upsides. But we want to make sure that we get this right, and we want the confidence of our city in the process. So I look forward to working with the mayor and the council as we keep Kansas City moving forward. And in the meantime, I look forward to having ongoing conversations about the airport and the future of KCI.
Thank you. We'll take some questions.
What did the airlines tell you, Mayor, when you informed them of this decision they put across the pause?
They were very disappointed. They believe that this is still the best thing to do. They've made this recommendation after years of study, hours and hours and hours of work, expense, and bringing experts to the table. They really don't understand how we got here, because in most instances, cities are clamoring for airports or airlines to build new terminals. This is an opportunity, unfortunately missed, I believe, at this stage, because it's not often where we have an opportunity to build something like this on somebody else's dime, and something that will help this city grow, et cetera. They were disappointed that we couldn't move forward. They, like I, will have and need time to chew on it entirely. I told them that I still believe in the goal, but my obligation and the obligation of this council is to look at a number of priorities and weigh one against the other and recognize what is possible and what's not. And in order for us to accomplish things on other levels, we have to move on from this conversation for the time being.
How worried are
They
you,
understood it.
How worried are you, sir, that a couple of airlines will then just say, maybe we ought to take a pass on Kansas?
I don't think that that's going to happen. I think what is more likely to happen is exactly what they said would happen at the meeting last week, that they would continue to conduct their business in a professional way, and it will be business. They will make decisions that enhance their business. Whether or not that helps us or not, I don't know, but I think that they'll still be around and doing things. What I do know is that they won't be able to grow. And if they're not able to grow and add more flights and more things, then that means we're not growing with them. So those two things, I think, are probably the most likely. They'll continue to provide service and do what they can as much as they can, but they won't be able to grow like they want to.
Mr. Mayor, in terms of,
What led you to this determination?
Basically some polling and a lot of conversations.
How hard was this decision to make?
For me, it was extremely hard. I have not been one to ever walk away from a tough issue. This was a tough issue, and my first instinct was, there's gotta be a way, there's gotta be a way. But at the end of the day, what we realized is that if we have so many people in town who are so set against something, then we should not move until that changes.
What was their problem? Was it the terminal? They want to keep the 3 terminals, or they just didn't want to spend the money? Did they see it as a money?
There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of things that people were told early on and are still being told that are flat out wrong, like the airlines won't pay for it when the airlines will pay for it. People had a hard time getting their head around the concept of something so large, so expensive being built and them not having to pay for it. They distrusted that. There is an atmosphere in this country right now about politics that is corrosive. It's kind of mean-spirited and distrustful. I think some of that's bleeding into it. And then there's a lot of people who just believe it's the most convenient thing in the world, and they don't want to see any convenience changed. There's a whole plethora of issues out there. Some are based on the convenience factor, some based on a trust factor, and some based on a misunderstanding factor.
Mr. Mayor, in terms of, you said the public is resistant to this.
Yeah.
Was it just based on some casual conversations, or was there a methodology? Did you do polls, or how did you arrive at this conclusion?
We have polling information that I think very basically tells us that this is not something that we could have gotten over the finish line in a positive way in either August or November.
Could you give us an idea of what the percentages were for and against?
Only 40% of the people believe that building the new air terminal is reasonable.
How large was the sample?
The polling was completed within the last week.
How large was the sample group?
Large, it was very statistically viable, 800 people.
Mayor, did you have that on the street after last Tuesday, or was it in the field during?
I didn't have it on the street, to be honest with you, and I'm not sure exactly when it hit, but I think it was around that time or before, slightly before or slightly after. I think it was slightly before, wasn't it? So, yeah.
The fact that it was down as far as it was,
I'm sorry?
the fact that it was what it was, and then basically a landslide defeat is what you're looking at there, 60-40. Did that take you back?
It caused me pause. It certainly made me say, maybe we're not ready to move forward. But I will tell you this, I had very good advice in my chief of staff and in Amy Jordan Wooden, and we talked this through, and I was out of town, and I went into a little mini depression during the first phase of grief after this, and then got out of it and started realizing if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. And if that's the way people think, then we need to be aware of that and act accordingly. Again, I've taken great pride in trying to make decisions in this office based on facts and data. And the facts and data on the one hand say we need a new airline terminal. The facts and data as it relates to our people say not now. So I can't take these facts over these facts, especially if these facts do not keep this city united and moving forward together. It is most important that we continue to work together and continue to move forward together in order to accomplish some of the other priorities that we have to accomplish. That's what I'm focused on.
So Mayor, the airport is on the shelf for the rest of your term?
I don't know when the airport comes off the shelf. I'm gonna let this lie for a while. We're gonna take care of some things that are much more immediate right now and move forward. And I think the airport conversation will develop its own life and rhythm, but I'm not saying it's for the rest of my term. It might not be, it might be, I just don't know.
There's been some discussion about a bond issuance for infrastructure improvements all throughout the city. Did a push for that play any role in your decision on KCI of one or the other?
Well, it's certainly one of the things that we're talking about and considering, and to the extent that we don't want to break faith with the citizens over the airport and jeopardize that possibility certainly was an issue.
Mayor, what could the city have done to sway public opinion before the airlines came forward and said vote in August?
Spend a lot of money, and the city couldn't spend the money necessary. What this would have required would be equivalent to a $2 or $3 million political campaign, because the issues are complex and intricate, and it would have taken a lot of persuasion, it would have taken a lot of media, and we don't have that kind of money, we don't have that kind of access to those sorts of resources. So we had tried to do things word of mouth. We had I don't know how many hearings. Councilwoman Justice said 13 for the airport committee, all were public. When the task force met 3 years ago, all of those were public, all of them were televised. All of the stuff that we've done through the last council was all televised, everything. We were hoping that that was enough to get the information out. What our polling basically told us is it wasn't penetrating. It wasn't there.
Was it also true that the airlines weren't willing to fund the campaign?
Well, the airlines make a very good point. If we're willing to spend $975 million of our own money, why do we need to fund your campaign to do what most cities are dying to have us do? I don't blame them for that. I mean, we can't come and say, look, spend all this money and help us get this done, and then spend a whole bunch more money to help convince people it needs to be done. At some point, it becomes a little bit unfair, and it would have been unfair to them. I don't blame them at all for not wanting to do that. If we want this, we ought to be willing to spend our own money to make the campaign work, but I don't think that was gonna happen when it was so easy to look at a potential, not a potential, a very probable defeat. Most people wouldn't invest money in a probable defeat if they didn't have to.
Mr. Mayor, do you see this as a setback for the city?
I see it as a delay for the city on something that, frankly, I believe is inevitable. I do not believe that in 15 years we will be sitting looking at this airport configuration in the way it is. At some point in time, we're gonna realize that this almost 50-year-old structure or set of structures is gonna have to do something to catch up with modern-day air travel and reality if we want to continue to grow as a city. So I don't see it as a setback or a defeat. I see it as a delay, and the delay will be over when people come to realize or come to believe that it is in the best interest of this city to do something other than what we're doing.
Last question.
Mayor, we're way behind other cities in transit. We're building 2 miles of streetcar when other cities are building 25 miles of commuter rail. Do you think we're gonna be in the same situation with our airport?
I hope not. But I also remember that, I also know that cities with 22 miles of light rail started with probably 2 miles of streetcar or 2 miles of light rail. The good news is, here's the good news. In the last 5 years, we have seen some major things happen in this city. We've got streetcar for the first time since the 50s. We've got a downtown hotel. We've got Casey Nova working. Google came into town. All sorts of great things. We got the Smart and Connected City. We're one of 7 finalists for a $50 million DOT grant. We got the largest Tiger grant for streetcar of any city in the country and the only one for streetcars in the country at the time. We've had a tremendous run of successes. I think that's what I would prefer to focus on as opposed to the potential for something else. We have to keep moving. We have to keep thinking big thoughts. We have to keep working with our good friends and colleagues and people on the council to make this city best. And I think that we will. We are slow on the transit issue. We have had to kind of pull things kicking and screaming, but we've taken a first big step, and sometimes we have to stumble a couple of times before we learn how to walk. I think we'll learn how to walk in due course.
Mr. Mayor, do you think this is a?
And that was not meant to be a transit-oriented joke.
I know you want to focus on the positive, but this is kind of like an opportunity loss, because you don't know if the airlines are going to be around 5 years from now, or even 3 years from now when they readdress this.
Oh, I think the airlines will be around. They're not gonna get up and leave town.
Well, I mean, the money is not, they're not going to be that willing to shell out the money.
I don't know if they will or they won't, frankly. I think that they feel strongly about having decided and made a recommendation that's in their best interest, and one that they want, and one that they think would be in their best interest because it would allow them a different opportunity for connecting flights, perhaps at lower costs. It would allow them the ability to bring in their bigger airlines that don't fit well with KCI right now. It would allow for international flights that we can't get. It would allow for a better, much better passenger and traveler experience that people don't have at KCI. I don't see them abandoning us. I do see them wanting the next time. I don't think we're gonna get 5 times to do this. You know, I don't think we get 15 times to make this right. I think that we get pause here. I think that there will be some level of reluctance the next time perhaps when it comes up, because burn me once, or what is it, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So I don't think they'll want to be fooled twice.